Welcome back. Tamil Nadu leads the way in using renewable energy. One of the big players in this space is Vestas. Rajiv Lula catches up with his India CEO.
Thanks, Pranav. I'm having coffee today with Arvind Kaul, Managing Director of Vestas India, the largest manufacturer of wind turbines in the world. They have 39,000 wind turbines installed across the world. Welcome, Mr. Kaul.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thanks a lot.
It's kind of talk of the town these days. Tell us how much energy, how much electricity is in wind. How much of India's demand can be met by capacity from your windmills?
Well, I know this is a question that I've been hearing for the last 15 years. I came to India a couple of times in the last 15 years on some assignments on energy. Unfortunately, every time everyone goes over this, what's the demand, what's the shortage, how do we met, by what will we met? And today, definitely, the additional megawatt for what it was 15 years from 80,000, it is 150,000 megawatt. That is about 150 megawatts. With that, today, India still has a shortage of power because the peak demand is 110 gigawatts, and the shortage, and I think the supply, if you see, the peak supply is about 97 gigawatts. So there is a 12% gap in the demand. So India is still behind on its own consumption in terms of its demand. So that's a very, very big concern to this country.
Now that's pretty much almost the same story as the need for infrastructure, the need for transportation, the need for, I guess, energy, So it sounds very similar. In terms of competition, I know that China is also doing a whole lot. They're also producing more energy than they did before, but there's also maybe some kind of demand-supply gap. In terms of competition, do you see China as a threat?
Well, very frankly, I think China and India, the way they are working, the way the companies are investing in both the countries, I think if you see in any of the industry, I didn't find a competition with China and India. It's not only wind in anything you see. There are reasons because each have their own markets and their own requirements, own specification, own qualities. So I think that line has been maintained for quite some time. So I don't see any reason at this moment getting worried about China competition.
Very good. So let's bring it down back home.
Yeah.
Let's come back to Tamil Nadu. I know 1/3 of our energy comes from renewable sources, that is wind primarily. How much growth do you see in this?
Well, that's a very big debate. And while today, if you see, wind energy is very matured because it has been so long and policies have gone through and people have got experience in that, and it has been a successful model. If you see, India is the third largest market after US and China. So wind has done pretty well, and and it is in place. And but the solar is still in development stage, and I think it will take a few years before they really could come on a platform where you can compare the two in terms of megawatt installation. So it's a little behind. It'll take time.
Okay. Any plans to diversify outside of wind?
Well, that's a good question because everyone asks that, what are you going to do? I said, when? The when question is there because we still that India today, let's say India, we are at 10,500 installed capacity of megawatts, and the assessment of market is 50,000 to 65,000. So we are talking of how many years? Even if you make 3,000 every year or even 5,000 after 3-4 years, there are many, many years down below that you have to go. And the similar thing is all over the world, where there's a capacity is there, it's not a shortage like India, but then this climatic, addressing the climatic issue, they have to put in this wind energy and renewable energy. So I think, I don't see in the next 20-30 years anyone should worry that this business has to worry about, mixing something with them to survive the business. So
now,
interesting.
Arvind, I know that some of these developments were, of course, taken on by countries' governments, especially in the US and some of the developed economies. It was also driven by public awareness. So, Arvind, what can we do to make the masses more aware?
Well, I think that is a big debate wherein you say, okay, like people meet me and say, okay, what can I do for the environment? How can I buy renewable energy? The grids are not that where you can, say this is produced from a wind energy and you're getting it in your home. But I think at this moment, what I would say, like today, the good thing that Obama administration announced a 1.5 billion in the grid transmission for all this renewable energy, because that is the biggest lagging in India also. The grids are not ready for this type of power. So that's one thing they have to address. Now coming to consumers, I think first thing I always believe the most important is that the consumers must conserve energy. I think the first basic thing. Almost take a plan that let me cut 10% of my energy consumption at my home on my usage. That's the first thing. And I think if everyone is tutored or given the message through TV channels and walk and talk and all that, and if people follow that 10%, I tell you, we are ahead of the game then. So that's the first culture we have to build. The second culture is we have to pay something for it for a future benefit. It's like investing in stock market people do, and don't call me the ups and downs, but it's important that how the clean environment, reduction in carbon dioxide will help my health tomorrow, where no one estimates the health expense today, but when it becomes old, piles of bills come out. So I think it is for tomorrow and thereafter tomorrow, taking care of all this climatic changes. So one has to start getting personally committed.
Let's come back to Tamil Nadu. I know 1/3 of our energy comes from renewable sources, that is wind primarily. How much growth do you see in this?
Well, that's a big challenge because Tamil Nadu had a SS capacity of 6,000 megawatt, and already 5,000 has already been installed. Yeah, they can still work at some sites, wherein they can get a little more capacity. But I think it's question is how other states are going to work. They have a large capacity assessed and they still have to fill up. There are various issues in terms of implementing policies, in terms of land issues and all that. I think a state government has to work on that and see how they can make it successful, because the wind energy basically is not asking for subsidies. It's not subsidies. The word subsidy, goes the wrong way, that you have to, aid someone or become a liability. Right. It's just sort of a helping it to get in return something. Because ultimately, if you get power on time, if you have production on time and people have power, the productivity will increase. And with the productivity increases, your revenues will increase, you'll get more taxes. So if you think on that, than to think about if I have to pay this guy 20%, 10% more, how will I manage? The electricity boards have a problem. They have a kitty, and they feel they're paying more to us by 10, 20%. So how can they afford? Because someone has to pay me more to do this. So I think it's a common debate. Someone has to understand, no, it's in totality, it's a win-win for everyone. I think that's a message that has to go through to everyone.
So what kind of new projects are coming your way? What does progress look like for you?
Well, there's a time when, like in India, we were importing about 40% of our content from Europe, right. But in the future, we are going to do more 100% localized in India. So I think when you address a market localized, like even the US, we are sending from Europe, we are sending from India. Yeah. Now we are putting our factories in US to meet the demand and all that. So I think localization, R&D investment and people investment is all the success today for this company.
Great. I mean, that's a high note to end our conversation on.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us, Arvind.
Wonderful.
Love
Rajiv.
having you on our channel. You should come more often.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Back to you, Pranav.
Thanks, Rajiv. And now we move on to one of our favorite segments on the show, how celebrities invest their money. This time we caught up with a young software professional turned actor.
She's the quintessential girl next door. Anuja Iyer likes to think of herself as a straightforward, independent girl who has her head placed squarely on her shoulders, especially when it comes to financial prudence.
I wish there was one single definition for money, but on a more lighter terms, if you have the money, you can get your honey of your life much faster. Yes, money is not everything as much as we'd all like to say and believe, but at some point you definitely need your that little bit of money to get whatever you want, be it your car, your dream car, your aspirations or whatever it is. It gives you that edge to move things a little more faster. Investments are very, very important from a very long-term perspective, and it's also the amount of prudence that is involved in it that makes you a regular common guy or Dhirubai. So it has to really be done in a way that benefits you more from the wealth creation point of view, and not just keep it to a money circulation. So yeah, something like a systematic investment plan, that would be really nice because it helps you go in a very disciplined way. Yeah, I'd like to invest my money more from a practical point of view in gold. Because the gold prices are rising every day, and it will have a very good resale value also. And but of course, reality or any other industry may just have its ups and downs. But gold is something that you really most of the time it's on the upswing.
That's all we have on this episode of Business Line. We'll be back soon. Do send us your suggestions and comments on feedback@ndtv-hindu.com or call us at 99 413 22222. Goodbye.